What's up, everybody, and welcome to another wonderful show from the Xbox Dive.
I'm Chris.
I'm Jamie. Let's do this. Now,
Yes.
Quick question, Chris. Let me ask you, does size
Hit me.
matter?
Well, I mean, it just depends on how late it is.
Because the new
Wait.
Call of Duty Infinite Warfare that's coming out, they just
video
announced if you buy the Legacy Pro, or Digital Deluxe Edition, that is the one that comes with Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered. It is going to take up 130 gigs on your hard drive. Now,
That's crazy.
I can't remember. Is this the biggest game size? Because I can't think of anything this big. Because I mean, even things like Master Chief Collection were like 50 or 60 gigs, right? And that's 4 games.
Yeah,
Why
I think
so
Master
big?
Chief, either Master Chief or Halo 5 has been the biggest, and I think it was like 60 something. So
Right.
I believe
like
that's been
double
the
that.
least. Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy.
And, I mean, first question. I mean, it's 2 full games, but even Call of Duty Remastered. I mean, it's a remaster. I'm assuming it can't be that big, can it? Because if you could take all the Halo games, right, all 4 Halo games, make them 60 frames a second, and it's
all the multiplayer.
and it's like it's like 50 gigs.
Yeah, 63.
Okay, 63.
I just looked. It's the biggest game.
Sure.
63.
Okay, 63. You have to double that to get Call of Duty Infinite Warfare with the Call of Duty Remaster. That means they are both. What it probably is, because if you take 4 games plus maps, they're coming in at like 15 or how much is? I'm doing math. I'm terrible at math, but whatever that's going to be, that's pretty small, right? So I'm assuming Modern Warfare Remastered is probably going to be maybe 20 gigs, right? So that means Call of Duty Infinite Warfare is going to be 90 gigs? That's crazy. Now, what does this mean for hard drives? Because if you have an Xbox One, the standard Xbox One, you have 500 gigs. This is going to take up over a fifth of your extra Xbox space. And it's going to be even more than that because the UI takes up how many gigs? I mean,
I think it is about 50 gigs.
Right.
Yeah.
So that means you take off that 50 gigs, you've got 450 gigs left. You're going to take 130 of that for Call of Duty
That's crazy.
Infinite Warfare.
And what's hard about that is, this is also like if you just walk backwards, a couple of weeks before Call of Duty, you have Titanfall 2.
Right.
Which is probably easily going to be 40 or 50 gigs.
Easily.
A couple of weeks, a week before that, you have Battlefield 1, which is easily going to be 40 or 50 gigs. You go a couple weeks before that, and you have Gears of War 4, which we already know is around 60 gigs.
Mm-hmm. It's like 58 or something, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, you literally have probably 200 gigabytes of other games just in the 4 weeks before Call of Duty comes out.
Mm-hmm.
That's literally your whole hard drive. Just those games.
Even if you put all those games on and the UI, you probably wouldn't have room for Call of Duty Infinite Warfare.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's crazy. Now here's the question that I have then.
Sure.
Is I haven't really been excited about a Call of Duty game in a long time. I'm really excited about 4 Remastered, but they're not selling that separately. So until they do, I don't really care.
Actually, that could be a whole other topic if we wanted it to be.
Yeah.
That makes no sense to me. Why? I mean, do you think it's because they had such a bad reaction when Infinite Warfare came out? Because if you remember, I think was Battlefield that came out at the same time. Something else came out at the same time and got a ton of likes. And then this one got a ton of dislikes.
Now, it was Battlefield. Yeah,
it was Battlefield, right?
I think, it was Battlefield. I think this is a marketing push because if they released, even if they released Modern Warfare remastered at $50 the same day and date with the $60 Infinite Warfare. Crap. If they were both $60 and they put them next to each other,
Mm-hmm.
they would have to report that Modern Warfare outsold Infinity 3-1.
Right. Yeah. 100%.
That's what would happen.
Right.
And they don't want that. And so that's the only reason that's not there, is because they don't want the conversation to be nobody cares about the new game. And so that's why they did that.
Right. And the cheapest way to get Modern Warfare Remaster, I think it's it's like $80, I think, isn't it? $80 or $90?
Yeah, you have to buy like a step up version. Yeah,
right.
So maybe like $80. Yeah.
What, insane.
Here's the question I have. Games are getting bigger now.
Right.
And they're getting bigger primarily because they have the space to. Right?
Kind of. I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with the technology in the box is growing, so they have better textures. They've got, better, uncompressed audio and cutscenes and all that stuff. All this stuff because they've got a system that can do it. And so I think it's kind of a little of both. They have the space to do it, but they also now have the technology to do it.
Yeah, but see, I would disagree with that.
Okay.
Because the Xbox
and you are
360,
wrong, sir.
the Xbox so the Xbox 360 didn't play Blu-rays.
True.
So developers last generation, even though they could put a Blu-ray on PlayStation, they had to learn how to compress everything and press it onto a DVD in order to get it onto Xbox 360.
Not necessarily, because some games were multi-disc on 360 that were on one disc on PlayStation. If they really needed the space, they could split into multiple discs.
Yeah, but they don't want to do that.
Well, true,
that's
it's an
extra
option.
manufacturing cost. But what I'm saying right now is now they're unfettered. They don't have to. They don't have to tinker around with compressing audio because they have the extra space. And so that's what I'm saying. They can fit this now.
Well, right.
So why do they go to the trouble? And so this is actually, to me, this is almost a slight at digital gamers, because they're saying they're basically saying our wall has been raised to the max capacity of a Blu-ray disc, so we can do whatever we want to that capacity. And they don't care about the person on a hard drive. So to be honest,
sure.
What's the max capacity of a Blu-ray disc? Do you know offhand?
No, I think it's like 60 gigs maybe. But my question is, because you said you think it's because they have the space. But at the same time, I go back to also the technology being better, because they can use higher res textures. That's going to take up way more space, because even if you could put higher res textures on the 360, doesn't mean it would run well. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
I think it's kind of a little bit of both. They have the space with the hard drive and the Blu-ray disc, but because the system's more powerful, they need better textures. You're running games at 1080p, in the future they're going to be at 4K. And that's a whole other story. If you think file sizes are big now, wait until 4K really takes off. Because right now we're having, people at IGN are calling 4K, which I think is actually hilarious. That's awesome. But they're just up-resing 240. They're still using the same 1080p, textures and lighting, all that stuff. They're still using that. They're just up-resing it to 4K. The Scorpio will be the first system that will officially run full 4K, without any kind of, anything stopping it from doing that.
Yeah. So sure, and yeah, 4K is a whole different story. But for me, this just comes down to a not having to anymore. Your teams are not forced to make specific cuts or specific compressions because they have a lot more leisure to do that. They couldn't do that last gen because whatever they put on a PlayStation, they had to be able to mimic it on an Xbox, so they just built it so that it would work on Xbox. But yeah, I mean, to me, this is definitely a concern, because unless Call of Duty is the biggest game ever released, what we're looking at is just lazy development, just not taking into consideration people's storage options, and just saying we're going to make the best game that we can, and we're not going to try to streamline it at all for the consumer. And while that's fine, if I had to choose between Battlefield 1, Titanfall 2, Gears of War 4, and Call of Duty, if that's my 4 and I can only fit 3 of them on my Xbox this fall, Call of Duty's getting cut.
Sure.
And it's so big that like I would have to cut probably 2 or 3 of the other ones to fit it anyway.
Sure. And I do actually kind of agree with you that it comes down to the way they're developing it, the way they're programming it. To kind of go back to some Nintendo stuff, back when Iwata was still alive, they came to him with the second Pokemon game, Gold and Silver, right? And they said, help us. We cannot fit this on a cartridge. It won't fit. So what he did, he took the time, went through the code, rewrote the entire code, and then on top of fitting that game on the cartridge, he fit the entire area and all the Pokemon from the first game on the cartridge. So, like, they said, help, it just won't fit. The way he programmed it, it just won't fit. And he said, look at your code, streamline your code. And he did it, and he smashed it way down. And I think, Nintendo in a way has always kind of followed that. If you look at file sizes for Nintendo games, even the big ones, they're like what? Like maybe 10 gigs? Like they're not that big compared to what is out now. And I kind of agree with you, Chris. I think a lot of it, I don't know if it's just the way of developing has changed, the way for programming has changed, but if they would go back to the roots and learn how to compress things properly, I think we wouldn't have these massive file sizes. At least not like we do now.
Sure. Now let's try to be a little positive, because Call of Duty gets plenty of hate around the internet. And one thing we said starting, Dive, is we wanted to try to be a more of a positive voice than negative. And we want to be critical and we want to be honest, but we do want to try to be positive where we can. So the only game that's comparative, right, that's at this size right now is Master Chief Collection, or probably Halo 5.
Probably, yeah.
Close up there too. And Halo 5, even though there's some struggle with how good the single player story was, the game looked fantastic, played great, and the multiplayer is probably arguably the best in the Halo series. So is this good news for Call of Duty? I mean, we're speaking about it as now it's becoming the biggest game. Like, do we really think that Infinite Warfare is going to have like something special? Like, is this size like really pushing or kind of revealing that they're pushing something brand new and really special? That we have to look forward to.
But also at the same time, being that large of a file, if you need to install something new on your system and do what they call, clean out the fridge, you need to get rid of something to make space. That 130 gigs, you could put 3 to 4 other games on there for that, same size. So is it going to be good enough to make you want to keep it on your system? That's also another question. And it really isn't just Call of Duty, because we have no idea how good this Call of Duty is going to be. Honestly, I think it looks kind of fun, interesting, kind of glad they're doing something a little different with it, going into space. I actually think it looks kind of cool. I haven't been interested in a Call of Duty game in a long time, and this one actually kind of caught my interest. I'm like, hey, they're doing something a little different. So I'm actually kind of, might check it out. It looks pretty good. But for me, it comes down to file size, because the Xbox One S came out and they had a 2 terabyte version. They said, nope, we're not making them anymore. We're doing one shipment, then they're done. Now we're doing 1 terabyte and 500 gig. Those are your only options. Like with mine, I've got a 1 terabyte One S and a 2 terabyte external hard drive hooked up to it, which is, it's not the best solution, but it works. I mean, until Xbox allows us, like PlayStation does, to open up the system and actually change the hard drive ourselves.
Yeah. That's not going to happen.
Right. And it's not. It works. But at the same time, I've got 3 terabytes on my Xbox One, but because of that, I never delete anything. which is good and bad. But now I'm at like 50, 60% full. Because
Yeah.
I have every single game, every, gold game and all, it's all on there.
Yeah. So I just pulled up my bless you. I just pulled up my Xbox to take a look at where I am.
Sure.
So I only have 35 games installed right now.
Mm-hmm. And you have the 1 terabyte, right? Just for reference.
I bought the 1 terabyte S. And so I have my original Xbox One, which is right there,
Mm-hmm.
and it probably has a few more of the smaller games on it and some of the family games because that's the one the kids normally will play. But when I bought the S, I started downloading, and I only downloaded the games that I play a lot rather than just everything that I had. So I ended up with 35, and as of right now, I have 335 gigs free. So that's not counting Gears 4.
Mm-hmm.
That's not counting Battlefield 2. Battlefield 1.
Mm-hmm.
That's not counting Titanfall 2.
Right.
So let's just estimate those are 50 apiece. My hard drive space is now going to be
right. You could probably fit 6 more games, maybe.
Yeah, but with those 3 games, so how big is Call of Duty?
130.
Okay, so I may with those 3 games.
That'd be about 150 there. You would be able to fit those 3 in Call of Duty.
And Call of Duty if
else.
I get nothing else.
Right.
And
Dead Rising 4 is right around the corner, man. There's other games. All I'm saying is, theoretically, if you were staying on top of all the big games coming out and you got those games and then Dead Rising comes out in December and you're like, what do? I don't have any space.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, it's a big investment to ask from your fans, and for me that seems to be. And again, I think it comes down to development, and I think that's almost too big of an ask. Unless this game comes out and is revolutionary, the biggest, most broadest, most detailed game that we've ever had on Xbox One, then that it came down to development. And what that tells me is that they're less concerned about fans and trying to work with some of their limitations by just taking a little bit of extra time to develop it. And these guys are all, and I'm not blaming them, they're on a really tight deadline. Sure. And I know that it's not, look, developing games is not easy. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, you want to be a consumer friendly company. You want to be a consumer friendly product.
Right.
And dropping a game that is double the size of anything else that's on the platform, unless you have a justifiable reason, is not a good move.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I can't imagine if you get the digital version or even the disc version, how long that's going to take to install. Because most games now, I'm at the point where I'll start the install and I'll just leave it on, what do you call it? Instant turn on mode. So I can just shut it off, go away, and my wife and I can go eat dinner, do something else, and I'll come back in a few hours. Oh, look, it's done. Like, I'm not going to sit there and wait, because if you sit there and wait, it's just going to take forever.
Oh, that's going to be like 2 days.
Right.
2 days.
And with my internet speed, which isn't the greatest, it's, it's going to take a while. So,
yeah.
But, okay, guys, what do you think? Do you think 130 gigs is too big for a game? What do you think is included in the 130 gigs? Is it just the games? There, extra stuff in there? What do you think is the proper hard drive size for Xbox to be putting in their systems? Especially the Scorpio going full 4K. What should we expect? Let us know. Make sure you can either hit us up on Facebook or on Twitter at the Xbox Dive. Make sure to check it out. But let us know, guys. Hey, guys. We hope you really enjoyed this contest from Xbox Dive. If you like what you saw, make sure to comment and subscribe down below. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Till next time, guys, we're out.